Hey, what's going on? My name is Jack Lane. Welcome back to a brand new video here at the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Nova project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to whack up the article right now and we are going to talk about it. Of course, this entire week from this moment onwards is dedicated to San Diego Comic-Con. We are going to talk about comic movie news, everything and everywhere. Also going to be having our Deadpool review some point this week, depending on if I see it this week. If not, I'll definitely be doing it next week. But like I said, let's jump straight into the video. Straight into the article, of course. Marvel's Kevin Feige confirms Nova Project as a TV show. He reveals the timeline for the release, and it's an exclusive. And this is something that I haven't seen reported on, but let's see if any of this holds true. Despite several voyages into the Marvel cosmos and the introduction of the Nova Corps, the MCU still has yet to bring in one of Marvel's biggest cosmic characters from the comic books, Richard Rider, aka Nova. That's not to say that there haven't been attempts to bring him into the universe, and there have been plenty of rumours in the past that he was on the way. Comic book Brandon Davies recently received some clarity on Nova's MCU future, as in an interview with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. Feige confirmed that not only is a Nova project featuring Richard Rider in development, but it will be a TV series and be happening in the next 3 to 4 years. Good news is all around, really, so perhaps we are finally on our way to seeing Rider make his MCU debut. Now, if you didn't know, the whole thing that's going on with the MCU at the moment is there is leaks, and the Disney hack happened. So I think this is why all this news is starting to come out. They're trying to get ahead of certain things, because these are things that will be announced at Comic-Con. I'm thinking that's partially the reason. However, it goes on and says, the interview then continues on. In the interview, Davies asked what was happening with Nova. Feige said it's happening, it's coming together. Richard Rider, yep. Then, when it was asked whether this would be in a movie or a show format, Feige said a show, yeah. As for when the project is slated to actually hit the small screen, there's still some time on that front, as Feige said, it's 3 or 4 years out. We're probably going to see this in about 2027. It's going to be probably one of the first things that will release after Avengers Secret Wars. He will probably feature in Secret Wars, hence the secrecy about this show. It was previously learned that the Nova project was in development thanks to an interview with Marvel's head of streaming, animation, and television, Brad Winderboom. Well, we love Nova. We are really in early development on Nova, Winderboom said. We have a new system behind the scenes at Marvel Studios. We're more like a traditional studio now. We're developing more than we actually will produce. There are plans to develop Nova. I love Nova too. I love Richard Rider too. I hope it gets to the screen. The world is always chaos. There's always things. You gotta conjure these things to make them happen. But I'd love to see a Nova show one day. So of course the MCU has sort of turned into this normalized studio now, where we are just getting project sort of in early development, and then a lot of projects being pulled. That's why we don't hear about projects. We hear about rumors and then nothing, and then we hear rumors and then we get nothing from them. This is because Marvel has turned into a bit of a corporate beast, a bit like where you have Sony, where they talk about an Uncharted movie for 17 years and it doesn't happen for 17 years, and then it finally happens, and then the ball gets rolling and stuff. So that's kind of what Marvel's turned into. They start talking about all these different projects. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And of course, leaks get out, fans get excited. They turn into a bit like a 20th Century Fox, which is what happened with Deadpool. If you guys don't know the story behind Deadpool 1, they shot a couple of screen tests, they did a couple of things, but they just didn't think it was going to make any money, so they scrapped it. And then like, but Deadpool did release. That is because someone, they've never said who, and they never will, leaked the footage, the early concept footage, concept art, and the idea of a Deadpool film. It blew up on social media, and then we got that. So that's kind of how things get made. I mean, it's a bit like the most recent comic book movie that happened to was Batgirl. They filmed like I think 75% of the project, and then that got canned because of the DCU and various other things happened there. However, it does say here, at one point Nova was included in early development, an early draft for Avengers Infinity War, but despite great effort from Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely to fit him in, he wasn't ultimately included. It was surprising, though, to see him not including any of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, as the Nova Corps is included and interact with the Guardians quite a bit throughout. In an interview with James Gunn, Gunn explained why he never included Richard Rider in his iteration of the Nova Corps. Yeah, I never had Richard Rider in anything. He's just too big of a character, and he seemed too... I didn't want to. From the beginning, when I came on board Guardians, I didn't want to have two human beings, Gunn said. I wanted to have one human being so that he could be surrounded in this world of aliens, and then we realised little by little that all of these characters are the only of their kind. They're the only human being to them, you know? So then it goes on to ask whether we're excited for the Nova series, and this is where I now switch the camera back to me, and we now talk about this. This is kind of what was expected. I mean, if you didn't know, the Nova series has been in development hell for years. Really ever since Disney Plus started, but Nova was supposed to be a movie back in like 2018, 2017, and when Spider-Man, when they did Spider-Man, when Spider-Man Homecoming released, everyone was like, oh my god, we're going to be getting Nova in Spider-Man, because he'd done the Ultimate Spider-Man show, and people thought they were going to go down that road, and we've had Luke Cage on screen. Oh, he's going to be Luke. Nothing ever transpired from all of them. We've had Iron Fist, which of course people I think compared it to the Ultimate Spider-Man, where we've had these characters come into the MCU because the Netflix shows are a part of the MCU. We know that. I don't know whether they are now, but they were at one point considered canon. And, we've had Luke Cage, we've had Iron Fist, we've had Spider-Man, but no Nova. And Nova's been one of them sort of series and movies that have been in development for so long that I think people just expected it to be coming sooner rather than later. But to hear that it's still happening is quite good, because normally when something takes this long, it sort of gets canned. But it's good to know that, we're getting this, it's still happening. So that is a fun thing to learn. The other interesting thing that I will say is the fact that, he wasn't put into Kevin Feige, into James Gunn's even, not Kevin Feige's, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. I kind of understand his point for not putting him in. And the fact that he also was supposed to be in Avengers Infinity War, I had heard that rumour. I didn't know how true it was back then, but it's interesting to know they were trying to squeeze him in. Kind of happy they didn't, because if they'd have put him in that movie, we'd have got the show, we'd have got the movie, whatever it ended up being at that time, like that. It'd have been bang, done, in sync, stuff's coming out. However, if that was his introduction, it would have been overshadowed by the bigger picture. Of course, if you look at a character that was introduced into one of the bigger picture Marvel movies, which is Black Panther, in Captain America Civil War, that works because he had his own story arc within that movie and his own introduction. Then, of course, we got a film 2 years later. However, that's not the case here. Nova wouldn't have been able to have that 30 to 40 minute story arc that played throughout Infinity War and into Endgame, because it just wouldn't have happened. And the way that Infinity War ended with it sort of makes sense that, they didn't put him in, because it's like, we'd got this brand new character, everyone was so hyped, and then boom. Now you may go, well, wait a second, wasn't that the same thing for Captain Marvel? Because if you don't know, Captain Marvel was introduced in that movie at the end of post-credit scenes. The difference was, I think the Captain Marvel film was in production and was being filmed, and it was releasing the following year. Or it released in 2018. I can't remember when the Captain Marvel film released, actually. Did it release before Avengers Infinity War? No. So the first film released March 8th, 2019. So it was the year after Infinity War. So after that post-credit scene. And the reason for that, I think, was because it meant people were excited to see the film that a lot of people didn't like. But, that film, I'd say it's all thanks to Infinity War, it made 1.1 billion at the box office, because I think a lot of people thought this is going to continue on the Avengers storyline. And of course, it didn't, in the sense of it was a prequel, but it still served as a good, introduction to her character. And then when we got to Endgame, we knew her character, and everyone was like, I like that. So, where am I at with the Nova series? Where am I at with the Nova series? I'm excited for it. I really cannot lie. The fact that Nova is probably one of my favourite comic book characters, given the fact that I grew up on the Ultimate Spider-Man show, where it was Spider-Man, Tigress, Luke Cage, we had Iron Fist, we had Nova, and you had them characters, as well, of course, as the Avengers series that was running alongside it, and the fact the MCU was a big thing back then as well. But to me, Nova and them characters were the characters that I grew up with, watching on TV on Saturday morning cartoons. So I'm excited to see the fact they're moving ahead with the Nova series. Not excited about the pace, but 3 years from now is what? 2027? 2028 at the latest, they're saying. So if that's the case, if we've got to wait 4 years, there's enough Marvel projects that are coming that will keep us going. And then, of course, the DCU, let's hope that's successful, just from a comic book fan standpoint. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I want to hear your thoughts down below. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Nova series is a good thing? Do you wish it was here quicker? Do you think they should have been a movie? Are you guys not that excited for it because it's been one of them things that's been spoken about for years? Do you think this is another one of them interviews where he's just talking about various things they're working on in case of the leak? Just putting that out there because, it does say here, further on down, that the guy, Brad Winderbaum, said, "We love Nova. We are really in early development of Nova. We have a new system behind the scenes at Marvel Studios. We're more like a traditional studio now. We're developing more than we will actually produce." That's what we need to understand. They're developing more than they will actually produce. However, there are plans to develop Nova. And he loves Nova too. He loves Rich Rider. He hopes it gets to the screen. It's all hopes. It's all hopes and promises at the moment. I just hope that it's not empty promises. So with that being said, like I said, leave me a comment down below. Do you guys think that changes things? Do you think we're going to see this in 3 to 4 years? Or do you think we're going to have another massive delay in things and we're not going to be seeing this for 10 to 15 years when the MCU does somewhat of a reboot with another saga? Well, actually, no, about 7 years when they do the reboot for the new saga. I don't know. But of course, like I said, leave me a fat like down there. Smash that like button. If you have enjoyed today's video, please smash that subscribe button if you're new. Trying to build a community here where we talk about movies, whether it be comic book movies, new action thrillers, some sci-fi stuff. Want to talk about some Star Wars stuff. Got a Star Wars video coming possibly next week, depending on whether I end up watching The Acolyte. And there's various other things that will be coming to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. I dropped a Blade video earlier today, or just about 45 minutes ago to an hour ago. That's doing really well. Sort of motivated me to, do this video because this video was going to come out tomorrow. But I thought, screw it, I'm going to do this video now. I'm going to work on this video and get this video out for you guys. So yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video, please let me know. And yeah, consider joining the channel and, joining me as we dive into movies and new movies and possibly even old movies soon. I don't know. I'm starting to rewatch some classics at the moment, and I might start doing some reviews on them once Comic-Con's over and done with. So, as always, stay cinematic, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.